and on this second edition of Baking and Books, Christmas edition, we are going to make a really quick, easy, fun recipe and talk about Footprints on Her Heart by Tabitha Bouldin. Today we're going to be making polka dot macaroons. And the reason I chose polka dot macaroons is because the main ingredient is coconut. And Tabitha's book takes place on a beach. It's a beach Christmas read. And with it being that, I think islands and tropical and pineapple and coconut and things like that. So even though hers may not be a tropical island with all of those things growing, I wanted to pay homage a little bit to the tropical flavors and things like that that come to mind when you think of a beach read. So the first thing we're going to do for our polka dot macaroons, you need 5 cups of flaked coconut. And this is one of those pour, mix, scoop kind of cookies that go really quick. 1 can of sweetened condensed milk, and that is a 14-ounce can. Be sure to use a spatula to get all of that goodness out of there. Nope, I've missed some. There we go. You'll also need 1/2 cup of flour. And we're going to mix these together. You don't have to use a mixer for this. You really just get in there with your spatula or your spoon and get it mixed up well. You do want to be sure and go all the way to the bottom of your bowl with your spatula or spoon, because as it starts to mix, some of the unmixed stuff will kind of settle to the bottom and you want to get it incorporated in. Okay, once you have that mixed, we're going to add 1.5 cups of mini M&Ms. Now, if you go to the town, you can buy M&Ms, mini M&Ms in a bag like this. It's 10 ounces. 10 ounces is right at 1.5 cups, just a hair less. So what you can do, I generally like to have my chocolate chips and candy pieces and things like that on the high end of whatever the recipe calls for, not on the low end. So if stores still have those little plastic tubes of mini M&Ms, one of those with one of these would most definitely make that 1.5 cups. Otherwise, just go with your 10-ounce bag and it is kind of a just barely 1.5 cups. And we're going to make sure those are all mixed in as well. Once you have those good and mixed up, we're ready to put them on our cookie trays. But before we do, I want to show you a picture of the front cover of Footprints on Her Heart by Tabitha Bouldin. So Footprints on Her Heart is the book we're going to talk about today while we're scooping out our macaroons onto our prepared cookie tray. Now for this recipe, oven set at 350, and it does say to spray a cookie sheet with cooking oil. Instead of doing that, I have parchment paper already on my tray, ready to go. And it says to drop them by rounded tablespoons 2 inches apart. Now, you can get out a tablespoon and do it that way. If you happen to have a cookie scoop that's about a tablespoon, you can go ahead and use that. And you're just gonna scoop it out and drop it on the tray. Just like that. And we're going to fill the entire tray and then we'll put it in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes. The edges should be lightly browned, and then we're going to remove them and put them on wire racks to cool. But while I'm dipping these out, I do want to talk about Footprints on Her Heart. I haven't done my review yet on my blog for this one, but it is coming next week, so you can watch for that at heathergreer.com. Footprints on Her Heart is, again, a book that takes place on the beach. It's part of a series. I think it's called the Hooper Island series. I'll double check that and be sure and put it in the show notes. But it's not specifically a Christmas book in the sense that all the action revolves around Christmas, but It takes place at Christmas time, and there is a Christmas festival, and so I count Cara and Trent's story as a Christmas read. In addition to Trent and Cara, who are the main characters who I think you're going to really love, there are also several furry characters in the story that I think you're going to enjoy and that just make the story that much sweeter. And Cara and Trent's story is one of past regrets and the ideas of what happens when that past doesn't seem to let go of you, and also what happens when you can't really seem to let go of the past even though you've been forgiven, and how sometimes it's hard to understand God's forgiveness of us because of the things we've done. And so I think you're really going to enjoy Cara and Trent's story in Footprints on Her Heart. Again, that one is by Tabitha Bouldin. Although it is part of a series, and this whole series isn't by her, it's several different authors that do each of the books. Each one does one in the series. So you'll probably want to check those out too. I've not read any of the others, but I'm probably going to after this. And now we're going to put our cookies in the oven. And in just a minute, I'll come back and show you what they look like. Okay, our cookies are now out of the oven, and I do want to take a minute to show you something, just a little, I don't know if it would be a tip or a preference or what you would actually call it, but give me just a second and I'm going to bring a couple cookies up closer to show you. Okay, what I want to show you is that the cookies on the left, these over here, are a little more round and uniform in shape than the ones over here on the right. There's nothing wrong with either one. I used a cookie scoop to do all of them, but with the ones on the left, I made sure that there weren't little sprigs of coconut hanging off the edge. After I put them on the cookie tray, I kind of gave them a gentle pat to give them a little more of that traditional cookie shape, where the ones on the right I just scooped and dumped, and this is how they came out. So if you prefer a little more uniform shape in your cookies, you can take the extra care to do that. Or, like I said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the little less uniform, little more messy looking cookie as well. It's just a preference, but that is something to keep in mind. So here is our finished product, the Polka Dot Macaroons and Footprints on Her Heart by Tabitha Bouldin. I encourage you put the Polka Dot Macaroons on your to be baked list while you add Footprints on Her Heart to your to be read list this Christmas, and I don't think you'll be disappointed with either one. We'll see you next time. Merry baking and happy reading.